sure where I left off. I didn't watch the video again, but basically, short story is when we got back from vacation, I woke up and was just talking to her, and she was fine. And then I got her up to change her diaper, and she started screaming. So I, hurried in the living room, laid her down, and she was calm again. Then I went to change her diaper, and under the mess, I found this huge, swollen, hard mass. So we went straight to the ER. They drained it and sent us home with an antibiotic. Well, that night it started getting worse, or it seemed to be getting worse. I wasn't sure what it was doing. I'm so hesitant to go to the ER again, because I was like, man, that was traumatic enough for her. I don't want to put her through that again. Just other people touching her and holding her and, things like that. And it's just frustrating, and I just didn't want to do it if we didn't have to. And so I called the emergency room doctor, and he told me to, because it was so late at night, that if I wasn't just 100% positive that it was getting worse and needed to come back, he said to draw with a black marker around the red, like around the outer edge of where it was red. That way, if it got beyond those lines, we would know if it was indeed spreading or if it was just still trying to get better. And she'd only had one dose of the antibiotics, so we kind of wanted to give him a chance to work. And it was nighttime, and she tended to do fine at night anyways. I think because when she was laying down, the pressure was off of her little hiney, so it wasn't bothering her. But as soon as she would sit up, or I would pick her up, it was just, she'd lose it. So we went to bed that night, and she was totally fine. She slept great, got up maybe once to eat, and that was, nothing abnormal. The next morning we woke up, and sure enough, it was all outside the lines. Her little labia had even swollen now. It had spread from just on her hiney. It was going up her labia, and it was bad now. I've never seen anything like that. So we went directly back to the ER, got her redressed. Rusty was at work now because it was a Wednesday. He had taken Tuesday off because we were supposed to go be with Jenny and Lucy and their kiddos. And so he had taken that day off because we were supposed to go to the wildlife park with them. And but anyway, now it was Wednesday, and I was just by myself with the kids. So I called my mom, and she met us up there to help me with Carson. Sorry, it's really big zit that's bothering me. Anyway, and so she kind of helped keep Carson under control for me while I was there for Paisley. And I pretty much told them, I said, look, it's gotten worse. I'm not going home until you guys get this under control and fixed, because I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm doing here with this infection. The lab still had to come back at this point. We didn't know what it was. They thought it might be staph, but they weren't sure 100%, so they couldn't officially say what it was. Anyway, so it took 2 hours for them to get her IV started. It was the most horrific experience in my life. It was horrible. It took 4 people. 2 of those people were specialists, because after the first 2 people tried, I was like, all right, egos aside, y'all got to get somebody in here who can do this. My baby is beyond done with you guys. They were really nice, so it was hard for me to be mean, but at the same time, this is my baby. 70% of me understands that this, it needs to be done. She needs to have an IV, but 30% of me was like, get off, I don't care, I'm going home. Of course, I would never leave, knowing she obviously needed medical attention. But it was really hard watching. I had a lot of medical procedures and issues and things growing up, so I understand that they're not hurting her. It was just more that she wasn't in her environment, and it was uncomfortable and probably scary. So anyway, the second specialist was able to do it. They just kept apologizing we're so sorry. We're so sorry that, we're not sure what's going on. And then they tried to, they were like, we're very capable. And I was like, I'm sure you are. I'm not doubting your abilities. It's my baby, and I want it to work the first time. So, anyway, finally got it in. She got poked 7 times, and they dug around each time they poked her, which was, I don't know, some of you may never have had IVs, some of you may have. The digging is the worst part. Just, putting it in the vein is the less traumatic for me. It's when they're like, oh, wait, over here, oh, no, hold on, let me get back, and that's when it's like, all right, you're done. So they finally ended up putting it in the vein in her left ankle. So once they got it in, I was like, y'all better tape that sucker down because we're not doing this again. And actually, we could have done a PICC line, but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that until we got up to the floor. They admitted us, and we were in the hospital for 3 days. We were there Wednesday, Thursday, and half a day Friday. And she was so good. By Friday, she was a pro. She just didn't even. Nobody bothered her. She just let the nurses come in, do what they need to. The staff at the Children's Hospital was amazing. They were so nice, and they let me give her medicine, like if I could, like if there was an option. Not if there was an option, but if it was something that I could give her rather than having them traumatize her, we did it that way. They didn't try to take over or anything. They worked with me really well. We walked in and there was a crib in the room, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. We're going to need a bed. There's no way she's sleeping by herself, and there's no way I'm letting her. Number one, she never sleeps by herself, and number two, she's sick, of course. Anyway, so they were really nice. They didn't give me any flack about that whatsoever. And let me check my time. Oh, okay. And when, some people are like, some people who don't vaccinate, it's always a question of, what do I say when I have to go to the ER or, something like that. And here's what I did. It wasn't a vaccine issue while we were there in the first place. So when I was asked about her vaccines, because it's just a routine question, they said, is she up to date on her vaccine? I just answered yes. It's not a big deal because they're not, if they really wanted to know that bad, and if it was really an important issue for her to be vaccinated because of their hospital regulations or whatever, they could have got her records from her pediatrician. If it was that important to them for whatever reason. I'm not saying it's not important for some people, because in other people's families and other people's lifestyles, it is important for other people to get their vaccines. But for our house and our lifestyle and our, daily routine, it's not an important issue. So, I just said yes. Yeah, she's up to date, and they didn't question it or give me any trouble whatsoever about it. So the hospital said it was good. She's on a really strong antibiotic. Clindamycin is what she's on, and she did really great within the hospital, and she hates the stuff. I have to give it to her every 8 hours, and she hates it. There's no other word. She can't stand the stuff, and I have to kind of hold her down and force her to take it, and has gotten to where I'm fairly certain she spits the entire thing out, but I do the best I can to get what I can in her. I have to give her 6 milliliters, and that's, a good chunk. So I do my best to give that to her every day. We have to do it till it's gone, and we still have a bottle left, and it's 2 weeks later. So far, no signs of side effects from the antibiotic. They told me to watch out for, really loose stools and things like that. But she's been on yogurt every day since too, trying to help it keep the good bacteria in.